hijab. And you guys remember the gaslighting that they did on her. They told her, well, it's your fault, Nicole, because you converted to Islam. So you should have known better. Now that you did, this is what you got to do.
That is a list item on a television show, delivered like he is reading from a clipboard he forgot to hide behind his back. And this is, believe it or not the final item on the list. The list keeps growing. The list never stops growing. The list is the marriage.
Just been picking at me, and all the rules, and like it doesn't like let me be myself ever, or like it's just like
That is Nicole Sherbiny, 2 seasons later, sitting in a confessional chair that the producers have by now worn a seat groove into. She is describing a version of herself she agreed to become, on camera, for a man she married, on camera, whose demands she said yes to, on camera. She is not a fool. She is a woman who was handed a contract and asked to argue about it in high definition.
Husband Mahmoud and his family. Mahmoud reached America on 90 Day Fiancé Happily Ever After. Season 8 of the TLC spinoff premiered Sunday night, giving fans a big update on Nicole and Mahmoud's marriage and decision to...
Okay, we need to talk about the rules. All of them, in order. Because the trick of this show, and I mean the actual illusionist grade sleight of hand, is that Mahmoud's demands are never introduced as a list. They are introduced as issues. Singular. Isolated, one per episode. Like he is not escalating, he is simply reacting to a new crisis she invented for him to be pious about. He is escalating. I want you to count with me.
So I had to come back to the USA. For me, living like an Egyptian woman was a big challenge because in an Islamic marriage, there were just a lot of rules, very, very strict rules. Back in America, fashion...
Rule 1, the hijab. Presented early, presented as reasonable, presented as just how it is where I'm from. Nicole, who converted to Islam after the marriage, which we'll get to because that is its own franchise-engineered plotline, agrees to wear it. She wears it for approximately a year. She later describes the experience of wearing it as feeling like she was betraying herself, not the religion, herself. Yeah, those are 2 different sentences, and only one of them made it into the edit.
There are like 2 sides of Cairo. There's the super, like the open-minded areas, and there's the conservative areas. Most of my friends are not covered. We go to bars, we can drink, we can dance, we can have exactly the same life.
Rule 2, the friends. Specifically, Nicole's friend Nuran, who is Egyptian, who speaks Arabic, who is by literally any measure the most stable adult on the entire cast, and whose presence on the show exists almost exclusively to point out, in a calm tone, that Mahmoud's rule set is not actually a universal Egyptian experience. She is there to say, this is him, not us. The franchise loves her for it. Mahmoud does not.
So they were not really respecting her freedoms as an independent woman. They were kind of gaslighting her. They're basically telling her that she should have never converted if she wanted to live her life as she is, because I guess...
Disrespect. That is the word. That is the word Mahmoud reaches for every time Nicole has a conversation with another human being. Not, I felt excluded. Not, I was uncomfortable. Disrespect. A word that does a tremendous amount of work in conservative husband television because it sounds like a feeling, but it is actually a verdict. And verdicts require punishments. And the punishment is rule 3.
it's like there are 700 people in your apartment. His brother lives upstairs with his wife and 3 kids, and they come down almost every day. And then he has another brother who has a wife, and they have...
Rule 3. The children, when they come, will be homeschooled. This is deployed in the context of an argument about American schools, which, fair, American schools, but the actual function of this rule is to lock any future Nicole plus children configuration inside a house she will also eventually not be allowed to drive away from. Because here comes Rule 4.
Around town for her husband before eventually spotting him toting a suitcase. She screams for him to get in the effing car. Neither Nicole nor Mahmoud has spoken out regarding the arrest. The tell-all episode for their season, filmed last weekend, supposedly. How
Rule 4, she will not drive. Nicole, an American woman in America, will not operate a vehicle in her own country because Mahmoud does not want her to. This is the one where the translator mentally clocks out. This is the one where even Reddit, which is not meta Nicole it could not drag, pauses and says, hold on a second, this is not a culture, this is a curriculum. Now, I want you to notice something. None of these rules appeared in casting. None of them were in the pitch meeting. None of them showed up in the Here's Who She's Marrying montage that opens every season of The Other Way. The rules arrive one at a time, after the wedding, after the move, after the conversion. And they arrive in perfect alignment with the franchise's production calendar. Almost like somebody has read Mahmoud's Instagram and Nicole's confessionals and figured out what the next season needs. I know some of you are already typing. You're going to tell me I am projecting. You're going to tell me these are ordinary disagreements between a newly married couple and a first-year convert wife, and every marriage has friction, and I'm making a mountain out of molehills because I want the content. Fine. Fair. Mountains and molehills are both landscape features. But here is the test. Here is the actual test I want you to run. Go watch the entire Other Way season Nicole and Mahmoud are on, and count, on a piece of paper, with a pen, how many distinct rules he issues that had not been discussed before the wedding. I'll wait. I ran this exercise. I am not kidding. I hit 7 before I got bored.
religion, trying to force her to change her ways. You guys remember that infamous scene where she wore a burkini to go to the pool in Egypt, and she looked super uncomfortable, not only in that scene, but basically throughout.
And that is the burkini at the pool in America. A garment Nicole did not grow up wearing in a country she was born in on a day she had wanted to swim. The image the show gives you is compromise. The image the show is actually giving you is compliance. And the camera, I want to say this clearly, the camera sides with Mahmoud. Every time. The edit treats his escalations as positions. It treats her adjustments as growth. That is not neutral filmmaking. That is editorial. That is a franchise choosing its protagonist. Now, let's pivot. Because the angle that the hardcore fans are missing, and I've read every thread, I have been in the trenches, is not about Mahmoud's rules at all. It is about why Nicole said yes to any of them. And the answer is not love. The answer is not faith. The answer is storyline.
I still have a lot of anxiety about wearing this swimsuit today, but I'm doing this for Mahmoud.
Nicole converted to Islam after marrying Mahmoud. Let me be extremely clear about what I am and am not saying. I am not mocking her faith. I am not mocking any faith. Conversion is a legitimate thing. Millions of people do it for reasons that are theirs, and the religion is not on trial in my living room. What is on trial is the question of when. Nicole converted after the ring. She converted in public. She converted on the timeline of a filmed marriage, which means every stage of her spiritual life was now also a narrative beat. And narrative beats need complications. Complications need new rules. New rules need a man to introduce them. Muhammad was cast, not by her, by the franchise.
No fight today. No fight today. Yeah.
Let's do it like this every day.
Don't worry. I first come to Egypt.
And I do not think Nicole is the victim of this. I think Nicole is a co-producer of this. And that is a different and honestly more interesting thing to say. Nicole signed a contract that Mahmoud is going to be on the other end of. She signed it knowing, at minimum, that a reality TV marriage to a conservative Egyptian Muslim man was going to produce, at minimum, compelling friction. She may not have known the specific items on the list. She knew there would be a list. That is the part nobody says out loud. A reality show marriage is a spec script that the spouses have to act out in front of their own families. The franchise picks the premise. The casting department picks the pair. The producers pick the pressure points. The spouses just show up and bleed on schedule. And when one spouse, Nicole, is an American woman with a camera-ready smile and a documented history of industries adjacent to entertainment, the production machine understands at a cellular level that she can do a take and then do another take and then do a third, and each one will be usable. She is, in the truest professional sense of the word, easy to film. Mahmoud is not easy to film. Mahmoud is the spike in the graph. Mahmoud is the stressor that produces the take, and everyone in the edit bay knows it.
This is your crazy husband.
My husband is crazy.
You love him in a way.
Yeah.
So
That is May 2024, 9 months roughly after they signed up for season 2 of filming. He says the word divorce on camera like he is ordering lunch, a light menu item. He is not devastated. He is not grieving. He is making a declaration that his agent will clip into a sizzle reel. Let me say that again and let it sit. Maham has an agent. This is a man who, according to the franchise framing, is a traditional Egyptian importer of standards, and he is simultaneously a cast member with representation, a media appearance schedule, and a declared public feud with his own wife that he will monetize through at least 2 sponsored Instagram posts. The traditional man on television is in the Zoom call with the publicist. And then 4 or 5 months later, we get the part the franchise cannot show you because it happened off camera in Los Angeles and the police were called.
USA, and we know for a fact that it does not whatsoever because, well, okay, let's go right through it, guys. Mahmoud El Sherbiny arrested for domestic violence.
February 20th, 2024, Los Angeles. Mahmoud is arrested for misdemeanor domestic violence against Nicole. The charges are later declined, which in Los Angeles often means exactly what it sounds like, which is that the prosecutor looked at what they had and declined to move it forward, which is not, and I cannot stress this enough, the same as nothing happened. Nicole does not appear on the Happily Ever After Season 8 tell-all. Neither does Mahmoud. Sean Robinson announces it from the stage in a tone I would describe as measured with undertones of "you're welcome." The franchise, which built an entire 3-season arc on their conflict, cannot legally, logistically, morally, pick one, put them in front of the cameras anymore. And this is the part the Reddit consensus keeps missing. The rule list pattern on camera and the domestic violence arrest off camera are not two separate stories. They are the same story at two volumes. The slow escalation of demands, the hijab, the friends, the school, the car, is the same operating system that produced the night the police were called. That is not my hot take. That is a decade of published research on coercive control, saying the list is the weapon. It does not look like a weapon until you see it from far enough away to
Islam woman, queen at home. But Mahmoud never had woman. This is first girlfriend, first wife. He never go out. He just work, stay home. He have no.
Mahmoud goes back to Egypt. Nicole launches a new business. The franchise moves on to the next couple with a similar scaffolding, because it is a scaffolding, and they will build it again with a different pair of names on a different continent in a different language for a different audience. The rule list will look slightly different. The escalation schedule will be the same. The tell-all will again announce that one of the principals will not be appearing. Sean Robinson will again find the tone. I do want to walk something back and be fair. Mahmoud is not a cartoon. He is a real man from a real country with real religious beliefs that he did not invent for the camera. The demands he made are not, in themselves, satanic. Plenty of happy marriages have rules. Plenty of happy marriages have one spouse asking the other to dress a certain way, or befriend certain people, or raise the kids a certain way. It's allowed. It's called a marriage. The problem is not that Mahmoud had preferences. The problem is that the preferences kept arriving on a schedule, in front of a film crew, with each new one landing just before whatever production needed the next conflict. That is not a husband with principles. That is a writer's room with a husband costume.
But she found her independence stifled due to their culture's strict restrictions. Nicole often cried about their seemingly constant misunderstandings about dress and how Mahmoud's family even questioned her choice not to wear a.
And Nicole, and this is the part I want to land because it's not the part Reddit lands. Nicole is not a victim who didn't see it coming. She is a woman who saw it coming, agreed to it coming, and then 3 seasons in, looked at the man she built this production with and stopped agreeing. That is not weakness. That is not faith lost. That is a woman who ran the experiment, read the results, and shut the lab down. The hijab came off, the burkini came off, the friends stayed, the driving resumed, the cameras left. A marriage, by all public reporting, is functionally over. The villain of this story is not Mahmoud. The villain of this story is not Nicole. The villain of this story is a production machine that looks at an American woman and an Egyptian man and sees correctly that the gap between their two value systems is television. And then, and here's the part that should make your skin crawl, widens the gap on purpose, encourages the rule, films the reaction, stores the clip, edits the season.
However, according to John Yates, Nicole and Mahmoud were not present for the taping. So some interesting information here, guys, about all of this. So Nicole and Mahmoud, obviously.
Mahmoud wrote a rule list on network television, and Nicole, patiently, item by item, declined each one. Not in the order he wrote them, in the order that suited her. The franchise got 3 seasons, 2 spin-off arcs, and an absent tell-all out of it. Nicole got the footage. She owns the footage, the way a survivor owns a police report. It is not something she wanted to have on file. It is something she now cannot be told did not happen. And somewhere in Egypt, a man is discovering that the longest list he ever wrote was also, in the end, the shortest marriage he ever had. If you made it this far, you either love me or you're looking for something to yell about in the comments. Either way, like, subscribe, and tell your sister.